All right. Hello, everyone. We are live, and I am super excited to be interviewing Jacob Cass from Just Creative on the subject and the importance of branding for graphic designers. So, how this really affects your ability to actually stand out, be able to charge a higher price, and really be able to make it in the industry. And just so you know, if you don't know who Jacob is, he has actually spoken at TEDx. He's been featured in Entrepreneur and Forbes. He's been in a number of high-profile design books, such as the Best of Logo Lounge Master Series, and some of his notable clients have included Nike, Disney, Nintendo, Jerry Seinfeld, huge Seinfeld fan here, and as well as some iconic locations such as San Francisco, Puerto Rico, and New York's Digital District. So he runs an industry-leading blog called Just Creative, which if you have not checked it out, it's a treasure trove of information, really helped me out at the beginning of my career. And he also has the Just Branding podcast, where he helps designers and entrepreneurs grow brands. So I am more than happy to welcome Jacob here for this interview. So thank you, Jacob, for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here as well. And thank you for the intro.
Absolutely. So, and everyone, if we have time at the end, we will do a Q&A, and we'll get to as many questions as we can, but we're really going to be focusing on getting some awesome value from Jacob on his awesome knowledge. So here we go. We're going to just jump right into the questions. So I wanted to just start off with why branding? Why do you see branding to be so important in really setting up your design business for success?
Okay. Well, let's start off by defining brand, and everyone's going to have their own definition of brand. And I know as myself, early in my career, I made many mistakes and just didn't fully understand what brand was. I thought it was a logo, fonts, and colors. And this is a common mistake when you're just getting into the industry. So first off, it's not that. It's much bigger than that. It's really the gut. A brand is a gut reputation, as Martin Neumeier defines it. So I really love that definition. It's really the thoughts that people have about you and your business or brand, product or service. So with that definition in mind, we have to craft that thought, that reputation. We have to build that reputation, and that's what brand building is about. So branding is about managing that meaning, creating that meaning. So how do we actually go about that? And if you think about how powerful that can be, that's why you should be doing branding, is to actually help build that reputation. And that's what brand building is about. So with that in mind, with that definition, I'm happy to continue with this conversation.
Yeah, that's a beautiful definition. And absolutely, I mean, you referenced Marty Neumeier with the brand gap. I know he was on your podcast at one point recently, and I mean, that was, it's definitely a broader scope than I think a lot of people realize what that really means. And it can apply
100%.
and it can apply to your clients as well as to yourself as a designer and how people perceive you. So
yes, 100%.
Totally. So I actually, the first time I came to your blog, I saw, the branding, I saw the colors, I saw the messaging, and it was for me. It was for myself as a new designer, starting out. And I think that I would be super interested to hear kind of the backstory on why did you choose that? How did you go about creating your own brand when you started it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Just to learn from experience, and how can my experience be applied to your knowledge and your, building your business or brand. So
Right.
I've been in the game for a long time. So I started in 2007, and this is official date. Like I was studying before that. So I want to make this short and sweet because we can talk about ourselves forever, right? But to make this actionable for you, the short backstory is that I created a blog while I was at university, and that got the attention of someone in New York who headhunted me for an agency job in New York. I worked there for about 5 years while running my agency and building up my brand and reputation over that period of time. So I want to say that's a slow and steady growth. You can't jump ahead. So you have to put the foundation into place. So the foundation that I had was the blog, my business, my site, and that is still the foundation of my business today. So what was that? It was actually my brand, but online. It was my online presence. And what I guess attracted you was maybe the style. I don't know what exactly it was, but it could have been the white space. It could have been the content on it. It could have been the combination of my photo and how I talk directly to designers and business owners as well. So there's a number of things here. I really want to make this actionable for people listening, because this is all well and good in theory, but how do you apply this to your business? So you have to understand, what are your goals? So why are you doing this? What do you love doing? Is it brand identity? Is it logo? Is it illustrations? Is it web design? You have a goal. You have a core service. So your website, your online presence should be based around the goal of what you're trying to achieve. Common sense, right? But often we skip this step and we're like, okay, what are we actually doing this for? Who are we doing this for? So I'm going to get into branding a little bit now, because it's a very multifaceted, I guess, subject. Because how I like to break it down is three things: like the company, which is you and the brand, the person. So your personal brand, the company, and then the competitors, and then the marketplace. And if you can get all those things right, then that's where the sweet spot is for you. So coming back to your core skill set, what you want to be known for. I'm going to use logos and identity because that's what I focused on earlier in my career.
Yeah.
So to build up my brand and my business, all the content I put out on my blog, on my website, on social media was based around logo design and brand identity. So that built my profile up in that particular niche. And that is how I built my brand, right? I was known as the logo guy, the brand identity guy. And that was for a number of years. Now I'm moving more into brand strategy. But the idea is that you have to know what you want to be known for. You have to know the passion behind your work. You have to know what you want to work on and what you want to be known for, and craft a plan to help build that reputation of who you are, because that's how people are going to hire you, and that's how you're going to build your name. So I'm going to leave it there, because I can keep going and going, but there's other facets of it, like competitors and so forth. So, but I'll leave it there.
No, that's a great explanation. And I think that that's something that I also talk about a lot, because I had, at the beginning of my freelance career, once I went freelance, I was really struggling and didn't know where to go. And some of your blogs helped me as well, but I kind of just stumbled upon a similar concept by myself of this niche, finding the target audience. And then I remember seeing an article that you had written about really focusing on the target audience. And then I researched it further, and Marty Newmeyer talks about it, how he started with his packaging he saw the need for that in the tech space in Silicon Valley, and seeing more and more big players actually speaking to this. Landor Associates in San Francisco, they started with packaging and for consumer goods, and so what you're talking about is really, I definitely understand the importance of that, and I would love to elaborate a little bit more about really how do you understand your target audience? What is it that you go for, and how you've seen this really help you to build your presence?
Yeah. So you just said something there that I realized I skipped over in terms of the customer, right? So I said the company, which is us, or the personal brand, then the customer, and then the competition. So they're the three sweet spots you really need to nail to understand your position in the market and how you're going to actually connect with your customers. So coming back to niching, it's actually a cross-section of all those things, like what your skills are, who you're serving, as well as the marketplace. How do you differentiate yourself from the marketplace? Mm-hmm. So coming back to niching, I want this to be actionable. Again, I'm really big on this, you have to think, for people listening, you have to understand, okay, what is my niche? What are my skills? Who do I love to serve? So if you don't know this yet, that's okay. And I didn't know that straight away, and it does take some time to do that. But you will find it eventually. You explore different paths: photography, UX, web design, typography, lettering, illustration. Like, there's a lot of creative disciplines that you can go down, and the more you focus on one, the more, I guess, expertise you get, and the better your knowledge is. The more knowledgeable you are, and the better the more confidence you get, and it just snowballs, So that's you. In terms of the customer, you have to understand what's the customer after. If they're after a logo, or if they're after illustration, What type of illustration is it? What type of logo is it? Are you like a very simple logo design, like a very clever, simple geometric kind of style, which is what I focused on because I love that style and approach. However, I'm not really an illustrator or a drawer, and I don't really know lettering, so that's not my style, and I probably wouldn't attract the customer that's looking for something like that. So as another example, you could focus down in a different way. In like niching, you can do it in different ways. It can be versus industry, it can be by the customer, it could be a combination of it. So a good example I like using of this is like restaurants, because there's different styles of restaurants. If you are targeting mom and pop, like bakeries, for example, you're going to have a different message, a different niche than if you're focusing on, like, say, a 5-star establishment. Totally. So yeah, but to go even further down with the restaurants, you can get so granular. Are you the designer for vegan restaurants? Are you the designer for steakhouses? So you want to be the go-to person for a particular niche, and that's the idea of it. To go further, is maybe you're the go-to logo designer for vegan restaurants. Like you can do this combo in many, many different ways, but the idea is that you want to be known for something, and you want to be the go-to person for that. You want to be top of mind for a customer, and that's really the idea of positioning. So to get that, you also have to understand that you have competition, right? It's not just as easy as like, hey, this is me, but you have to be different to someone else. And you can also be different in a number of different ways. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you can be different by the experience you provide. You can be different by the style. It could be different by how you approach, I guess, business. I guess that's the process as well. But there's different ways to differentiate yourself, to stand out. It could be your identity, your voice. It could be your location. So it's just finding your voice, like how you're positioned in the market based on your skills and your customer. And I keep coming back to this sweet spot. It's like, if you think about it, a Venn diagram, like customer, company, and competition in the middle, that's what you're aiming for. So, yeah.
No, that's perfect. I mean, that's a really good explanation of how deep you can go and the different ways you can actually deep down. And I feel like this is a question that comes up is how thinking you're going to miss out on something if you do that.
Yeah.
And can you talk about this? Because I've said this many times about how you're actually missing out if you don't go deep. And I would love to hear it from you and how you've had that experience, what you've seen working and not in this way.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to give some examples from my coaching students. So I've run 2 masterminds for designers, so like an early career group and a pro group. So they're a little bit more established. So awesome. People in the early career, they're going through this journey themselves. There's one student that comes to mind in terms of how he's niched down, and he used to be targeting everyone for brand identity and some websites, but within the coaching group, we're like, okay, who do you like working for, and what are your core skills, and do you see a weakness in the marketplace? And the more we went through, like, his customers were a lot. They were in the trades field, so like Sparky, electricians and tradespeople. So he ended up niching down for tradespeople because he did websites and identities for tradespeople. So now he has a clear focus on who to target, and he can easily target them through marketing and knows how to speak to them. He can understand their pain points, and that's going to save you a ton of time, just like fire hosing the whole market, trying to like attract everyone. Now he knows who he's trying to attract, and he can create resources and marketing material that actually is focused at tradespeople. Like top 10, like as a lead magnet, for example, on a website, it's like top 10 mistakes tradies make with their brand. Like that's super focused for that audience. If you're trying to focus to everyone, it may not be as appealing. So so I'm not sure if you heard my son in the background.
I understand.
That's work from home. Yeah, work from home. Yes. So the focus is there once you have a niche. So the myth is that, hey, if I'm saying yes to this, I'm saying no to any other people. But that's the truth. It is. That's the purpose of niching. You are saying no to more people. So you have clearer focus, and you can give a laser-like focus on your customer. And that's why you're in business, is to help the other customer, right? Beautiful. And the benefit of that is the the profit that you make by helping other people, serving other people. So who are you serving? What's the cross section of your skills? And is there a gap in the market? Like, how much competition have you got in the area, in the world? What's the price point you have? How are you going to this is another differentiation strategy, right? Like how are you priced? Like, are you premium? Are you cheap? Are you whatever? There's so many different ways to stand out. And I guess that's what we're coming down to is like, how do you stand out in a saturated marketplace? It's not about standing out. It's about having the right strategy in place so you know who to target and you know who you're talking to, because that's going to help your identity. It's going to help your business. So don't think about it as as the myth goes. That's the purpose of niching. Yeah.
That was beautifully said. Great examples, and I couldn't agree more with that. And I know I also had that fear at the beginning, and I put up a website with everything, and it didn't go anywhere until I actually chose one focus. So I loved hearing those examples and hearing someone who's really been successful actually use that strategy. So
yeah, can I just give a little asterisk there?
Yes.
That was an example from my students, and they actually chose an industry to niche down on. I myself have never niched down by an industry, but you have to understand my strategy is different. So I have an SEO inbound marketing strategy. So what does that mean? It means that people come to me, I'm not going to them. So I do have a wide casting net because I get a lot of traffic on my site. So I can do that. So people may try to copy or emulate or learn from others, but what you don't realize is what is going on behind the scenes. So that's why it's important to understand, work on you, your skills, and who you want to serve, and not just copy others because you don't know the full scenario. Really think about it. So to put this into play, how I have niched down is it was originally logo design. Everything I did was about logo design, and it was not about niching or any particular industry. And then the more I learned about branding, I moved into brand identity design and really focused on that. And now it's more into brand strategy, a more holistic approach of late. So that's kind of the journey of how I've niched down without actually going the industry route. Yeah. So that's my little asterisk.
Okay, that makes total sense. And that kind of brings me to my next question, which is, in watching that TEDx talk that you did back that was 2011, I believe.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was an amazing opportunity to be able to share your experience there, and the way that you actually fell back onto the foundations of the online presence that you had actually already set. And like you said, you were early to the game with the SEO and really laying that foundation. And I think as far back as that point, is that right?
Yeah, 100%. So it's been a very steady gradual build since 2007. And just for context, people listening, in 2010, I think it was, I was kicked out of the States because of visa issues, and I really wanted to live and work in New York. So I used my brand and my business and network to get a job in New York within under 2 weeks. And the TEDx talk goes through how I did this and the emotions and experiences and all that drama that goes with getting kicked out of the country. So
yeah. No, that was pretty amazing how you were able to, because you had created your brand even then. I mean, that's 10 years ago now, and really set that up and knew who you wanted to talk to and had that online presence. You were able to, even for getting an in-house job, you were able to actually use that to, instead of getting kicked out of the country, land a job. And that was a super impressive story to hear that.
Yeah, 100%. And man, that was nerve-wracking, that one. I'm not a big public speaker, so I think that was my first and only big format. So I just went straight to TED, and then haven't done anything since. But yeah, it's got some good traction, and I'm glad I did it.
No, it was great data. I think you really spoke to the same points that you were bringing up now. I mean,
nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. It's the same principles. It really is.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of creatives, they want to be only doing the creation. They don't want to be getting into really thinking about their strategy and getting into that at the beginning. But I find that it's if they don't do that, if they don't actually think with, okay, so I am a creative person, but what is my actual business strategy? If they want to have their own business and they want to make that into an actual a sustainable income. So I would be interested to see, I think you kind of touched on it as well already, but what steps would you give for them to use the concept of brand strategy to actually apply it to their own design business, just in some tactical steps to get there?
Okay, so I think in the beginning, when you're just out of school, like there is a big problem with design schools, and it's the fact that you're learning the design principles, you're not actually learning business skills, and
Right.
like it's a like you have to go through that motion anyway. Like that's the barrier to entry. You have to have your design skills, right, or your whatever skills, creative skills. So that you have to work on that in the beginning. But that's why there's not a huge focus on business, and like you have to learn through experience and going through the ropes. In terms of getting a business out the door, I think we spoke about just understanding the niche and where your skills lie and what you want to work on. But brand strategy, I think, may be a little bit overwhelming because it can goes pretty deep, with and it just may be overkill for, I guess, someone's just out of design school. So, but we can go down there. I can give a brief overview. It's nothing major, but it can be overwhelming. So I'll just give a rough overview of what strategy is more about. And it's about uncovering those things that we talked about. So at first, you have to understand why you're doing things. So the foundation of your brand, like your mission, your vision, core values, that's really the substance of who you are and your brand moving forward. If you define that, you understand like the purpose. And that's a big part of business, is why you're doing something. Right. The next, you move into positioning. So we look at your customers, we look at yourself, you look at your skills, you look at how you're going to stand out in market. So kind of what we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you move into storytelling and your framework, how you're actually going to message, what's your messaging, what's your brand voice, So yeah, you can understand there's a lot that goes on here, and you'll eventually find your voice, and you'll find like your core story that you want to tell. It just may be too much in the beginning. After that, then you move into your identity, your logo, your fonts, colors, voice, any other touch points that you want to create. So your website, your identity, your business cards, and any other marketing material. So that's really the high level overview of brand strategy. But yeah, I'll leave it there.
Totally. No, and that makes sense. And I think it's just really, it's inevitable that those things are going to come up as a designer. Yes. You have your own business. If they're going to come up, you're going to have to take them on. You're going to have to figure them out one way or another. And and I think getting the skills down, really finding where you love to do it. Obviously, if you're still new, maybe testing waters, figuring out where you want to go. But ultimately, those steps, that process has to happen, and for you to really have a brand with a strong foundation. So I think that they can't be stressed enough and gone over enough. So that makes total sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So can I just go back to people coming straight out of design school, they're early in their career. Often they don't really have a portfolio that's going to resonate with their customer. Through design schools, they often just have a very wide casting net in different types of projects, not like a focused niche. So I think once you have found your passion or what you like working on, then it's really about doing more of that work and having case studies, and because you get hired for what you put out there. Mm-hmm. People see that work and they're like, okay, that's what I want, to like that style, and that's what you get hired for. So if you push out more logo work, or if you push out more web work, that's what you're going to attract. So just be mindful of that. And yeah, you'll work on all these other things as you grow your business, but it is about getting your presence up online and working on your skills, getting case studies and things in place to help communicate the value you have and what you do as a creative. So I think that's the first step, is like working on the essentials. And then you can figure out your story and your messaging and all of that as you grow. The simple message that you need to send is like, here's the service I do and here's who it's for. Like if you can say, I'm a logo designer for restaurants, like that's a clear cut message. Like in simple forms, that's what you have to go for. So just to bring it back down, like work on your core skills, have a clear message for what you do and who it's for. And that's the basics. And then you can figure out the other things as you grow. Yeah.
Awesome. Totally. Okay. So now let's say somebody, they've come out of of art school, they figured out who they want, what they want to do, and who they want to do it for. So now a common question that comes up a lot, and I know it's very controversial in this whole field of graphic design, is pricing. And obviously that when you have chosen a specific niche, I think something I talk about is you have to really know who you're actually talking to, who you're trying to target, because people are going to be different price points depending on the industry that you're targeting or the type of design you do. So I would be interested to just hear your take on this whole subject of pricing and how to kind of gauge that when you're first getting started in your business.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, I just want to say you have to own you have to own where you are in your journey. You have to be okay and recognize that you're at the bottom, right? You're starting from the bottom, so you have to make your way up. When you're starting at the bottom, it means that you're either working for free or building your portfolio, and you have to be okay with that. You can get your first clients and your first paying clients after you have some skills, right? And you can gradually increase your prices when you have confidence, when you have more case studies, you have proof and results. Right. That only comes with experience. So when it comes to pricing, just be okay with where you are, and your prices will raise. Every project you get, you can increase it. So a good rule of thumb is that you can increase it in the beginning, you can double it, because you could do like a $50 project for a friend, just as an example, or free. Next one could be 100, next one 200, next one 400. Like by the time you get your fifth one, fifth or sixth, you could be at $1,000 for a project, Yeah. And the next one you have, okay, this is a big jump. It's $2,000 now. So is the value of my work there, and is the value seen by my customer? So just in the beginning, own where you are. In terms of get into the next level of pricing, understanding how to price based on value and not just the project. There's some resources that you should look into, and so I'm just going to name them. So Blair Enns, like Genius, and this is where I learned a lot about value-based pricing, pricing creativity. This is like, if you're aware of this stuff from the beginning, you'll realize don't charge by the hour. Definitely don't charge by the hour. No. Charge by the project. Other tactics I wish I knew early in the beginning was having a tiered pricing structure. What I mean by that is like a gold, silver, bronze approach. So the gold approach is your top tier offering. It has like your full package. The silver is like the sweet spot. And then the bronze is like, hey, just something basic for people that may not have the full budget, Yeah. I wish I knew that early in my career, but that tactic is just so powerful. So just Google gold, bronze, silver tiered packaging options, and you'll learn about that. Jonathan Stark is another great resource when it comes to pricing. Those two will keep you busy. So now you're aware of value-based pricing. This will help you with pricing projects. A little bit more advanced. So someone just starting out, it may be a little bit overwhelming, especially if they're still just learning about pricing and proposals and working on their skills. But at least you're aware of it now, like where you can go in the future. Right. Yeah. So just to recap, own your journey, like where you are in journey. Pricing projects based on project and in tiered options, and then learn about value-based pricing. So 3 actionable things.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And I think that the point also about not doing hourly, I think hourly can be a trap. And I think that that's something that isn't really learned very well in art school. Again, another thing that add on there. So
another asterisk, just to not confuse people. When I say hourly, it's like you can know your own hourly worth, but you don't actually charge, hey, I'm going to work 5 hours on this project to the client. You should know how much you value your time. So that should be played into your costs. So that's a little asterisk there.
Totally. Yeah. I think that having it so that the estimate of effort, and you'll get that down better and better with each project you do, to know, okay, so if I put in this amount of effort, it's going to or if I need to do this project, it's going to take this amount of time. So I need to make sure I put padding on that pricing and not just undercharge. And I think that that's important, like you're saying, that you have an internal hourly. It's not something you're going to say, okay, so it's $60. It took me an hour. It took me 2 hours. So it's $120 where it should be in $1,000 project. So that's
Because
Definitely.
you'll realize that the more experience you have, the quicker you get at your work. So if you're charging by hourly, you're just like shooting yourself in the foot. It doesn't make sense.
No, absolutely. Good. Okay, so then now, once people have their setup on their pricing, now how did you get your first client? I would love to hear your story on that. That would be fun to
Yep.
go back to that time. And
Oh man,
also, did you have the flamingo and the pink as part of your brand at the beginning too? It'd be a fun story to hear that.
okay. Yeah. So the first client, man, I laugh. So my business back in the day, I was just like a hobby. So I didn't really even know it was like a bit of a career, but I was just playing in Photoshop, morphing people's faces together, like very poor Photoshop jobs. And that kind of just led to people seeing, hey, you do graphics, and hey, can you do me a logo? I'm thinking of starting a website. And this was all done in like Dreamweaver or GeoCities or something back in the time. So it was just people seeing me doing it as a hobby, and they're like, "Oh, can you do this for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it'll be X amount." I can't remember. I can't even remember what cost it was, but it was a logo project, and it just stemmed from friends, right? Just people knowing what you do, and that is this is a great segue. This is the perfect way to get your first client. It's from people you know, friends, family. Just say you have to let people know what you do. Like, hey, I'm a graphic designer. I just graduated. I'm looking for new clients. I specialize in web design. Do you need a website? Let me know. Here's my number. So that way you're letting people know, and that's how you get your first clients. Okay, flamingo. The flamingo thing is the pink thing is not new. That pink has been part of my brand since the beginning. I used to be called Just Creative. The brand used to be called Just Creative Design. I dropped design many years ago just to be more encompassing and shorter. The flamingo came, I think, last year. I was like, what's my brand? It's like spirit animal or like mascot, I was like, I just went to the flamingo because the flamingos are like, obviously they're pink, but it wasn't just that. It's more that they're bold and vibrant. They're not afraid to stand out. They're creative and fun and a bit kitschy, and they just had all the brand attributes that I resonate with the Just Creative brand. So I kind of just got a poster, which you can kind of see back there this way. There's it's a bit of sun on it. But anyway, it's like a poster in a Pantone swatch, a flamingo in a Pantone swatch. And then I got just like over Christmas, my birthday, I got given all these like flamingo gifts. And I've got like flamingo pillows and signs and like this little guy back here. This way. This camera is confusing me. This way.
Yeah, I see him. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so now I have the flamingos. I got a flamingo pool toy out here. More flamingo pillows. I got flamingo t-shirts. It just like it went overkill at Christmas. So I can't shake the flamingo anymore.
Well, that's great. I think it's quirky, it's fun, but it's also creative. So I love it. And it fits the pink.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, cool. So now, I think before we jump right into the Q&A, I just want to know, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience about building your design business, and any other words of wisdom that you wanted to provide on that whole point? I mean, it's been amazing, everything you've been saying, definitely actionable tips. So I just want to ask if there's anything else that you would like to add.
Yeah. Okay. So I do have my ear to the ground in terms of like the struggles that early designers face and people a little bit further in their career. I know that early designers, they often struggle with communicating what they do and finding their niche. It's like, oh, everyone tells you to find my niche. I don't know my niche. I don't know it. And it's okay. It's okay. You won't find it straight away. It does take some time, and that's completely okay. Just get your work up there. Whatever you've done in design school, make sure it's online. Don't be afraid to show your process. Share your sketches, your thinking. People don't buy just the solution. They buy the thinking and the process. So just be aware of that. And to reiterate the point of that is that because I shared all my design studies on my blog back when I was studying, that's how I got headhunted by an agency in the other side of the world, on the other side of the world. And that's because I was putting myself out there. I owned the stage of the journey I was at, and even to this day, I do the same thing. So I'm learning about strategy. All the content I put out is about strategy. Like 5 years ago, it was about brand identity. 10 years ago, it was about logos. Just own where you're at. Don't be afraid of putting things out there, because that's how you get known. That's how you get seen. The more places you are, the more places you can get seen. So I'll just leave with that. Yeah.
Wow, no, I love that. And I think I'm curious actually about the blogging. Do you feel like there's still a place for blogs in the crowded SEO space online? Because that's a great way to be found.
100%. So there's a lot more noise these days, I'm not going to lie. And there's a lot more tools and platforms, and social media is totally mainstream now. It wasn't back then. So it was a different kind of, blogging was more small, closer knit. These days that you can be seen in more places, but what you should be thinking about is where your customers are. Often another trap is like designers will focus on Instagram. It's a very visual medium and it makes sense to be there, but what they don't understand is they're just either talking to an echo chamber of other designers. Like you have to understand that you have to be making content for the customer you're after, as well as share, like you can share your work and all of that, but you have to understand that there's a balance. It has to be for your customer. It has to be perhaps for designers. It could be your process. It could be your work. It could be what you've learned in school or whatever it may be. It has to be with a bit of strategy and thinking behind it, not just like shouting into an echo chamber. So what was the question? It was
if blogging is still a thing.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of danced around that. So blogging, yes, it's 100% a thing, and because I recommend it because you own your platform, right? And social media you don't own. So your website is something you own, as well as your email list. These are the two best things you can invest in: your own platform and your email list. So 100% make your website your platform. So it means that you can rehash the content, right? If you write for your blog and show your value on your blog, you can use that content again on social media. So it's very multi-purpose, but you definitely have to have a presence online. So I think it is still very relevant today, to answer your question.
Great. That's great. Yeah, I had that same, I loved what you said, the echo chamber of Instagram. I think that is beautifully stated, because I was trying to get clients, I remember a while ago, on Instagram for my design business, and they weren't there. My ideal clients weren't there. And it's so interesting that and just hearing you say that, it definitely validates what I have seen, and how I know that designers love to follow other designers. So and see the other creations and creatives. So you really got to find where they are, where your ideal clients are. And the blogging, I love that idea of owning it. It's on your website, and you can just go crazy with the amount of value that you add. So
100%.
I think you've done that very well. So cool. So I'm going to just check here for any, if anybody would like to put any questions in the chat box. I'm going to be going there right now. Okay, so let's see. So the first question I see here is from Roderick. He says, how valuable is Instagram as a designer to get clients, or is there any social media that you recommend more than others? So you kind of did answer that already, but maybe there's...
No, I have another answer for that, because I do get this question, like, what platform do I focus on? And you have to understand these are all just tools. Like, they're a means to an end. Why do you want to be on each platform? What's the purpose of it? Is it to get clients? Is it to build up your authority? Is it to network with other designers? Like, you have to understand why you're there. And you have to understand like your expertise, your customer, where they hang out. And then you can understand which platform to be on. So I do know what you focus on grows. So if you are not comfortable in front of the video, in front of the camera, don't do YouTube and video yet. Like, work your way up to it. I literally hid behind a camera for a decade. It's crazy. Yeah, I was a writer. I wrote, and I had my profile picture, but that was it. Like, I didn't do video for a decade, and that's because I didn't like doing it. Even these days, I'm only just getting now like more confident on video and podcasting and coaching. And it took me a long time to get to that point. But I focused on writing and SEO, and that was my core skill set. And that's what I use as my tool. So you have to find the tool that works for you, and understand like it is just a tool. It's a means to an end. So don't just see like what platform is the best, because they're all the best for different people. So
Yeah.
these days I spread myself on all platforms because I want to be seen to more like reach more people, and people hang out in different places. So I have a more broad approach, but I know people that just focus on Instagram, and they do very well there. People that just focus on YouTube, or I focus on my blog and SEO. So everyone has different strategies. So
Yeah.
I hope that answers it. But Instagram is valuable because you get to connect with people, and there's an amazing community on there. But whether or not it's the right tool for getting clients, that comes down to how you're engaging with your clients. Like, people aren't going to really find you unless they're like really going through hashtags, and like it's few and far between how that's going to happen. So you have to be proactive and engaging with your key customer to use it very well and to actually get customers that way. You have to be talking to them, engaging with these people. To put this into context, let's say there's like I don't know, hairdressers, for example. Like, you're going to engage with hairdressers. You're going to go to other hairdressers and comment on their profiles and see if you can work with them. Like, you can see if they have poor websites, for example, and you can talk about, hey, I've noticed something wrong with your website. Just want to let you know, and then that relationship has started. That's how you build clients. You don't find clients, you create clients. And that's how these tools should be used. Don't just be like picking them like just wasting time. You have to think about like the purpose and how you're actually using this tool for that purpose. Anyway, I'm not going to go more on that. Sore spot.
I'm with you 1,000%. I actually got rid of my personal Instagram account because I wanted to be fully focusing on the purpose of what these platforms can do for my business. And I think that that is such an important thing, and really using them correctly for value, to add value to others. And so I love that you did touch on that point.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good. We got another question here, and I think we have a few more minutes. Scott says, you mentioned about people having their own platform, for example, website. What hosting option would you suggest designers use?
Oh, like a website hosting? There's so many out there. Man, I'll plug my affiliate link here. No, I'm just kidding. Now the ones I generally use for my clients, I use Bluehost just because they have a simple UI, and that's what I've used, and I'm just familiar with it. But there's so many different hosting platforms out there. I use Media Temple for my website, but it's like you have to understand like how much traffic you're going to have, and like how much can you afford, and like how speedy do you want it, and do you want WordPress as like a benefit, or do you want something that has a drag and drop builder like Squarespace or whatever it is? You have to understand like where's your website going, how much can you afford, and so forth. So there's no best. It's really about your needs. So.
Right. I think also definitely, and I just wanted to add one more point is that you also, are you a developer? Do you have access, or maybe can you partner with a developer? Because there's a lot of capabilities that you can do if you want to start it from scratch, but you don't need to. And also some platforms have great templates to start with too. So
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Cool. And then Barak says, can you talk more about Facebook marketing?
If you're talking about Facebook ads, I have not done Facebook ads, so it's not really in my wheelhouse.
I am not an advocate for ads myself. I really believe also in the organic approach, and really the adding value and building relationships approach. So,
yeah, I can comment on it because I've never spent money on advertising since 2007. I've never have. However, I know people that do it very well and smash it out of the park, like millions of dollars, right? They're using Facebook ads to connect because like it's so hyper targeted, and there's so much value in Facebook marketing. You have to understand like what's your funnel, what's your system in place? Is it going to work for you and the offering you have? I can't imagine that it is going to pay off for people early in their career because they haven't got the systems in place to make it worthwhile. They haven't got high ticket items really at that point in time. Like you have to, like it's a big investment, Facebook ads, and for it to pay off, to get ROI, you have to have a system in place in terms of your high ticket offerings. And I have taken classes on it, but I haven't actually got a course or product myself, so I haven't really put it in place. I have a more organic approach, but I don't want to discount it because it is very powerful because of how hyper targeted it can be. It just may not be right for people early in their career.
Good. I think that's well said. Let's see. Brooke says, oh, here we have another one first. Behance Portfolio says, hi guys, sorry this is off topic, but may I ask, how do you cope with burnout? Okay, so I think we have
I love this one.
Yeah.
I do. Okay. So I also, in my coaching group, we have had people experience burnout, and often it comes down to a few things, right? These are simple things, so they're not going to blow you away, but it's amazing how we get bogged down in this. It's often poor time management, having no clear priorities, not having focus, poor environment, not mixing up your not having balance between work and life. You may have stress from not having like your own office. So again, that comes down to environment, exercise, water. Like there's a lot of things, like these are basic things, but often we forget about it.
Yeah.
So burning out, it's understanding what you can remove from your day-to-day to actually give you more time. And if you're burning out, it may mean a number of things. You may need to raise your prices. You may need to hire. So there's a lot of reasons behind this. We put stress on ourselves. We turn ourselves into busy people. And yes, today's world is like that, but the only people doing that is ourselves. So we're the ones responsible. So we're the ones have to change. So to reduce burnout, you can, number one, take a break. Like I know it goes against it, but the break gives you refreshes your system, and you can come back to things more and work more productively. So although it sounds counterproductive, it actually does reset you. These techniques have worked with the coaching group. So I would be surprised if it didn't work for other people either.
Absolutely, the simplicity of it. Absolutely. Okay, so we have time for a few more questions. I see. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for saying hello. We all see you. Happy for you all to be here. I see Brooke again is saying, I don't agree about ads like influencer marketing. As a starter, how can we go about with few hours a day for graphic design work? Okay, I'm not, if you want to elaborate a little more in the chat, maybe Brooke, I'm just going to go to the other one while he's typing a little bit more. And then Boken Slow Karate Club says, is it better to show myself to clients as a company or individual person?
This is a great question. This is also something that comes up. Even just yesterday, I was talking about this. So it comes down to how you're positioned and who you're wanting to work for and what skills you have. And it also depends on where you're at in your journey. The benefits of being branded as like a person, right? Jacob Cass Design, for example. It shows you're a freelancer. It's one-on-one. It's very personal. The downfalls of that is that it sounds you don't have a big team. You have not as many capabilities, perhaps. It sounds like you could be cheaper, So the benefits of being a company, it sounds like you have more capabilities. You may have a team behind you, and it maybe sounds better, to a certain customer. But it really depends on who you're working for. Some people want to work with individuals, and they want that one-on-one, and that's who they're looking for. So you have to understand how you're positioned in the market for that to answer that question appropriately. I've had people go from single names to company names because they're at that part of their journey and they want to be seen as something a little bit bigger, and that you have a team behind them. So I hope that gives you some insight.
Totally. That's a great answer to that. Good. I'm glad Behance Portfolio, that it's 2 a.m. Wow. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's just go back to the Baruch. As this will be the last question. Then Jacob has to go. So as a starter, how can we go about with few hours to a day for graphic designing work? So I'll let you take that one.
Okay. So it's pretty vague, but I'll take a stab at it. So if you have a few days for designing, right? Like, what are you designing for? Is it for clients or yourself, or like, what's the purpose behind it? How do you go about with a few hours a day for design work? So I don't really know how to answer that, because you have to understand what you're doing the design for. Are you building your case studies? Are you working for a client? You have to just understand, like, what are you doing this for? Are you trying to focus on a particular niche? That's what I would how I'd kind of break it down. Like, what are you focusing on? What type of design do you want to work? Are you just exploring, or are you working for clients? Like, yeah, it's a pretty vague answer, but for a pretty vague question.
I think that sounds fair. Okay, good. All right. Well, that's all that we're going to be able to get to at this point. But Jacob, thank you so much for being here. It's been great to be able to have this conversation with you. And I'm sure that everyone took away a lot of value from this. And really just thank you so much for coming on my channel.
Pleasure. Thank you. And thank you for sharing it with all your crew as well. So thank you guys for listening. Cheers, Lauren.
Absolutely. Okay. Bye, Jacob. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.